It's going to be a special show today.
I like, yeah.
Um, right. Yes, sure. Hello. Welcome to what I think is going to be just a big old therapy session of Just Not Crick Pod. Um, where a little bit different to our normal updates is that I think today we are going to just be dissecting and kind of getting rid of all the demons of talking about this horrendous, horrible England side at this World Cup. So it's a hello from me, Matthew, and hello from you.
Hello.
It's Jamie. There he is. That's a twist. How are you, Jamie? I always ask this, even though we've already gone over this.
I mean, I'm good. I don't really feel the dread from England.
Mm,
I get enough of that from United, but they won.
yeah. Uh-huh. So would you say
I'm also top in the fantasy league, so I've got something
it is
to
true?
hang on to.
But would you say there was a moment, I think, was it on Saturday, where I think Manchester United looked like they weren't going to get a result at Fulham, and it was a dogged 0-0, and England had crashed out of the World Cup. Was that a very upsetting time?
I mean, I don't think any part of the Fulham game was particularly distressing, which is a
No.
step up from what it's been in the rest of the season. It was generally a bit of a bad game overall, quality-wise.
Yeah.
Uh, Fulham didn't really create too much. We didn't create too much, but we did actually score
Yeah.
two goals.
Yeah.
One was stupidly ruled out, but it's like
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah.
like
I mean,
win's a win. When you've been subjected to so much crap and
sure.
worse than dullness, you take the boring 1-0 win away from
What you
home.
do. Yeah. Um, so speaking of boring 1-0 wins, England have only won one game this World Cup. Um, yeah, I feel like whilst you can claw on some kind of niceness from United scrambling to 3 points, I just feel as though there is no joy in this void of this England team. And I feel as though the team itself are devoid of all joy thoughts.
Uh, what happened to Bazball?
Why don't you just fastball it? Right, I don't really know where to start because we had a big old rant last time about the performances, and nothing's really changed. Um, but it just felt the Australia game. Thought they did well to restrict Australia to bowl them out for starters, and I thought they bowled quite well up top. Rokes has got some groove back. But as soon as Australia got over 250, it was just kind of writing on the wall stuff. You knew that England had no confidence in their batting, even though Stokes did his normal thing against Australia on one leg and looked like he might do something ridiculous, but even those vibes weren't quite there. Um, I it's
I mean, like they even restricted India to what, 190
yeah,
odd or something?
they've been the team have performed best against India with the ball easily. They did, they got Kohli out for a duck, and Kohli's been in, supreme form all tournament. Um, yeah, restricted India really well in that game. But then an England team of confidence and old probably chased down the last two scores against, India and Australia. But there's just nothing in the tank. There's just nothing there. It looks like Bairstow gets out first ball by a horror like dismissal, and then it's just like, well, that's it then. Like nothing's happening here.
I mean,
Thoughts?
I mean, we mentioned in the last episode about how crap the preparation has been in
Yeah,
that
awful.
there's been none.
Yeah,
But like a lot of these players have played so much cricket, just
yeah,
full stop.
absolutely.
Like how like Stokes is literally injured. He's not.
Yeah,
He has not been fit for
yeah.
ages. Like
Hmm.
Bairstow's been playing for pretty much non-stop since he came back from his big
Yeah,
injury.
almost career-ending injury.
Yeah, and he's like straight back into the England Test
Yeah,
side to play as wicketkeeper, and
yeah,
you know he makes mistakes. Shot.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Wood is perpetually on the verge of injury.
yeah,
Rashid seems to be perpetually injured, but always plays. Mo's had injury problems. Like, what can you do if you're mismanaging your players so badly?
yeah, for sure. And it's just felt like there's been no because I even spoke to my wife about this, and she was like, because she's like, oh, how are England doing before we did the podcast today? I was like, well, but even her first thing was like, why are they not? Why are they not being blooding young players? Why are they not, looking to the future? Why are they not getting a shout? You look at, I can't get my head around for a second. Like England were out of this World Cup like a week ago, probably more than that. Probably 2 weeks ago, that game against South Africa. Um, why have they only been picking all the team they're picking all the way through the end of this tournament are all these players who are never going to play this format again? Like, I just don't understand. Like, you've got Harry Brook and you've got Gus Atkinson, our favourite player, like, and Bryden Cast. Why are you not giving these players an opportunity to, show what they can do at this level and, get to the experience of playing in India against the best sides in the world? Because they would have played against India, would have played against Australia, would play against Pakistan, but they're not getting these opportunities. Instead, you're giving them to people, one of which is retiring at the end of this World Cup, um, and one of which is on one leg. Instead, they're going to have surgery once the tournament's finished, even though they're already out. So I don't really understand the thought process. It's like, well, we've got to have one last hurrah to prove that we can do and end on a high. But that train has long since gone.
Gonna end on a hurrah against
Yeah,
fucking
what
Netherlands
Netherlands?
or
Yeah,
a less than
yeah,
stellar Pakistan. Like, you've already lost the easy
yeah.
games.
Yeah. Like, it's like Stokes came out the other day. He said, like, oh, we've been crap. That's why we've not won anything, which is, a fair kind of honest Stokes assessment. But there's no benefit him still being there. And you just know he's going to play the last two games for beyond reasons of logic. But why is, he not going home, getting a surgery? They're eliminated now officially. Get Brook in there, give him some time in the middle, send Wood home. Like, or what? I mean, I guess send home feels a bit like abandoning ship, but there's no ship to really abandon anymore because the tournament's gone.
I mean, it's a
I,
bit of a shipwreck instead, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
you can't abandon ship if the ship has crashed
it's
into a
already it's
rock and
already
they're
hit the iceberg. Yeah,
all the passengers are drowning and the captain's like just speared onto a rock and
yeah. I just,
and Bairstow's trying to doggy paddle not to drown
yeah,
because he can't actually swim.
I know. I just can't think of any reason at all why these players are playing in these games. I just can't think of any logic of it. There isn't any. I don't understand. It's almost like they want to try and prove a point, but there's no point to be proven. Anyway.
I mean, they've always been reluctant to add in new players, even
Yeah,
before like the Rob Key McCullum
yeah,
came. But like, it's been weirdly noticeable going back to the Mo being called out retirement, Stokes being called out retirement.
yeah,
Like, why are you not giving chances to players that have put in the effort in that format?
yeah, for
Like,
sure.
you played Rian Ahmed in the test side against what's Pakistan, wasn't it?
Pakistan, yeah,
Like, you've not given him any chance in the test series against Australia, and he's not anywhere near this squad for the World Cup in India, where your third spinner is Livingston.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's just,
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't,
yeah. There's no logic. There's no sense. There's also a very interesting kind of thought process. That you look at the best teams in this tournament. Um, Obviously India, uh, New Zealand, um, but both of those have, and South Africa have very good left arm spinners.
mhm.
Um, England, I mean, I don't particularly rate Liam Dawson massively highly, but he is a better spin option and all round spin option than Liam Livingston is. In India, especially, like he bowled very well in the county championship all season and very well in the 50 over competition which could lend well to a 50 over World Cup. um, it just doesn't really make sense that that kind of player is not getting a look in, and you just see how well all the other left arm spinners are doing. Um, but no point talking about players who aren't here because obviously, why would that make sense? But I've got some stats just to make some lovely reading. I put this tweet out the other day. So these, I've I've tried to not necessarily look at the players who are on anything less than um a 2 year contract, because the feeling is that if you're going to offer a player a multi-year contract, then you're going to give them a lot of opportunities over the next couple of years. You're not going to suddenly say you've had a bad World Cup on your bike. These are the players that you're surely going to be looking at for the future. You can't suddenly be like, well, we'll just do a rebuild, even though we've offered this player a pretty nice central contract.
Mm.
So, big issues we had. So we'll start with the batting.
Oh,
I've done a minimum of 6 innings because I think that's fair. I don't think you can really. That's predominantly most of the World Cup. Um,
so you're saying
so
Gus Atkinson's not?
I'll mention Gus. I'll mention Gus and Brooke because they've only had 4 innings. Well, Brooks only had 4 innings. Gus has only had one, obviously. Great little 30 odd or whatever he got. But anyway,
I think he's in the top three for the strike rate in the tournament.
yeah, yeah, probably up there or would. But batting, I'll go from best to worst because the worst is quite worse. At the top, and yeah, all of these players. So Root is top. He has a lovely 3 year contract, which would make sense. He's going to play Test cricket, obviously. But I can't see him playing 50 over cricket. So he has 188 runs this tournament at an average of 26.8. The first 2 games he got 50s, and I think both of those were 80s. And since then, he's looked, a shadow of himself, basically. Getting out in really loose ways, which just shows you the head has gone. And the main talking point of Root this tournament has been more what he said off the field, which has just been absolute inane nonsense.
I've not
Like
heard any of that stuff. So
well, he
enlighten
said
me.
previously, he said that, well, to improve our 50 over cricket, we need to play it instead of the T20 blast, but the 100's fine. Um, and then this week, just before the Australia game, I get the sentiment of this, but it doesn't help when the team is at rock bottom. He said, I would pick our team man for man over Australia's, which is just, it's not true. Like, I know what you're saying, and I get that you want to be like, I trust my team, but to be like, oh, I've got faith in all our players, but it's just not the case. You're just making yourself look like a fool. Like, Adam Zampa walks into the England scene, which is a horrendous sentence to say, which I wouldn't say. Warner's in incredible form. Mitch Marsh has been outstanding.
I mean, I think look the other way. Which of the England players get into the
Well, none
Australian
of them.
team?
I mean,
Like in this
you can't. Yeah, in this
situation,
tournament alone.
in this tournament, I mean, none of them from this tournament alone.
Maybe
Like,
Rashid. I think Rashid's done well, but you wouldn't play him ahead as Zampa because Zampa's a leading wicket taker, which is
yeah,
just mad. Um,
like maybe you play Rashid over Hazelwood,
yeah,
so you've got two spinners, and you've got Mitch Marsh as a third seam option. Like the only other case you could make isn't based on this tournament. It's
no,
Butler going in as a wicketkeeper. But like
yeah,
Inglis has
England,
done
yeah,
well, and
yeah. He's
Carey's
got a
still
crucial.
a
Yeah,
good player.
he's got more 50s than Butler has.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's none. Rashid is your 12th man, I'd say, and that just proves what a dire straits it is. Because on paper, they should be well above, I would say. Like, Butler, um, Wood, uh, Rashid. It's mess. So, Root chat needs to stop. Because there's other ways you can say it, isn't it? Second up, you've got Johnny Bairstow, who's the second highest, 141 runs at 20.
I'm actually surprised he's that high.
Yeah, I think he has 150. I can't. It might have been against Bangladesh in the one game we won, but he has 150. Um, but again, has just looked. Him and Milan have put on some kind of starts, which is really nothing. But they've got to like 40s and stuff. Like Sri Lanka, they had a really good start and then completely fell away. I think Afghanistan they had an okay start as well, maybe, or maybe I'm making that up. But they've looked solid and then it's all fallen apart. But yeah, like we said, he's played too much cricket for a guy who's just had potentially a career-ending injury, and it's just maybe Jason Roy should have been picked. You've got
I mean, no, but
no, I would have. Yeah, I think
maybe they should have picked frontline spinner Will Jacks to open.
yeah, Jacks, Phil Salt, Ben Duckett play spin well. Just options. Um, third, which is I think almost as bad as the bottom place, to be honest. Joss Butler, 106 runs at 15. Um, Again, I think he's got one score of 40 and then nothing much else. He has been, I mean, he's admitted it himself, which you have to, but he has been awful. Like he's not. I mean, they brought up some of his ODI stats in India, and I'm pretty sure he's not got 100 or any meaningful score in that time across any kind of bilateral series or anything. But as a captain, that just completely sets the tone. That's if your captain can't buy a run and his confidence is gone when he's keeper as well, taking that to his keeping, taking that to his captaincy, he's got to be just it's that's the figurehead. I mean, if you don't Morgan led from the front in every way that he managed the side with the bat. He got the incredible 100 against Afghanistan in 2019. Butler's just nothing, and he's shown nothing. Like he just has those real sad puppy dog eyes. Um,
I mean, like I see
yeah,
stories on Reddit of him like thinking
yeah,
he's too much of himself, or like just
yeah,
has so much of an ego about himself, and he's
yeah.
not showing any real leadership
No, not at all.
qualities. And you would think the time in the innings when Butler comes in, it's
Yeah,
more of a T20
for
situation
sure.
anyway,
Yeah,
which he would be benefited from.
yeah,
So just
yeah.
doesn't seem to perform at it either.
Yeah, and not performing under pressure as well, which is odd for Butler. Like that's where you normally think he thrives upon. But even when he's not under pressure, like against Australia, like England were in a pretty good position. Like Stokes and Milan have been batting pretty well. They'd weathered the kind of opening storm. I think he came in at about 100 for three or something like that. Whereas that's a good basis. That's a great foundation for Butler to come in. And any other situation, Butler comes in and smokes that and gets them towards the line, and then Mo or whoever can come and finish it off. Um, but it's just I I don't know what it is. I mean, it's got to be a confidence form thing at this over form at this point. I would say like he's too good a player to not at least get something. Like the way he's been getting out as well has just looked tame and lazy. Like his shot to Zampa against Australia just looked like a guy who's just not there. Um, so that's been incredibly disappointing. You just can't back him. Um, but the bottom place, um, is with 60 runs at an average of 10 is Liam Livingston. Um, didn't play the South Africa game, so this is 6 innings on the dot. Um, yeah, not great.
I don't get it. I
Yeah,
like
and he's been
even
offered a multi-year
yeah,
contract as well.
like
Yeah,
even when he's had low scores,
mm,
they've been like 20 off 4 balls or something.
yeah,
It's been like, yeah, fine. That's liver
yeah,
does just does
yeah.
that.
Livo do this. Yeah,
But
um,
like, and again, like if that's T20, that's fine. But
yeah,
I don't know, in ODIs, you can be a bit more restrained and controlled. You don't have to be mashing it all over the place.
yeah,
Like for
for
as
sure.
bad a tournament as Baba has had,
Yeah,
and I've seen
he's
him
still got
bat.
runs. Yeah,
Yeah, when I've seen him
yeah,
bat, he's been in control. He's been like just stroking it across the floor for fours.
yeah.
He's not had to hit it for sixes, and he's not playing well, particularly.
No, yeah, yeah,
But like, you can hit 2 fours in an over, and that's solid. You
yeah.
don't need to go looking for the big shot.
Yeah, no, for sure. Exactly. And they've been as tame as Butler's dismissals, really. But it's just, again, frustrating because you would say that Livingston came into this tournament on the back of a bit of form and a bit of momentum after he got a great 90 against New Zealand at the Bowl, whichever, Aegeus or Rose, who cares? Um, And
But
he offers, yeah, he offers something a little bit good with the ball, but he bowled a few real rank long hops to Stoinis, I think it was, and got smashed for 10, but then got him out caught at Cow. He offers you that, and he is a competitor. And you look when he bowls, probably more when he bats, he looks really up for the battle, which a lot of the other players don't. Um, but he just doesn't look in tune with 50 over cricket, probably because they've not played any of it. Um, but yeah, it's just looks at it just makes this whole decision to like announce these multi-year contract deals in the middle of England's worst World Cup for a long time very laughable when a guy who is averaged 10 is getting a 2-year deal. um and you'd say probably is only going to play 2020 cricket from now. It's not a good vibe. um so yeah, obviously in that list I've not included Milan, who's I think he's averaged about 40 in the World Cup, but he's got 150. He's easily been the best bat. um but he's only got a 1-year deal. um and obviously Brook, because he's not played 6 innings. So that's the lovely storytelling of the batting. Um, Mo also only has a 1-year deal, so he's not been included either, but he's not really done anything. Um, Bowling. So we've got only 3 of the bowlers, I believe, are on a multi-year deal. The top one, Rashid, 2 years. He's got 10 wickets at 30, and he's been England's best player easily. He's looked like he's found a good groove. He's got wickets at important times, restricted the run rate, all that kind of jazz. Um, Wokes has 8 wickets at 31, which is good, but considering he got 4 wickets on Saturday, and I think it was 3 the week before, most of his wickets have come when the tournament has been lost. Um, and that's not to take any discredit from the way he's performed in the last couple of games, but um, he started the tournament very badly and kind of set the tone. As much as I like Wokes, um, it was not a good start.
two
But
games doesn't make the whole tournament.
exactly, yeah, and I think those figures kind of flatter him a little bit, which is you know,
It's like when you look at Sri Lanka's main opening
yeah,
bowler,
yeah,
Dilshan Madashankar is the leading wicket taker.
yeah,
It's like he's played a game more than Zampa
yeah,
and the majority of other like top wicket takers. But like
hmm,
he's consistently getting at least 2 or 3 wickets a game,
yeah,
which is vital, even if you're not really challenging to get in the top 4 places.
yeah.
Like no one for England has been doing that. Like
No,
Rashid's
no way,
been bowling well, but he's not opening the bowling. Like you
no,
see Lungi Ngidi and Jasprit Brummer, like when they open the bowling, they're not going for any runs at all. I don't think Bumrah got a wicket the last game against South Africa, but he was
yeah,
going at a really low economy rate.
yeah, yeah.
And
Just setting the tone, setting the pace.
that was the one game Ngidi's economy has been really bad.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
just happened to be against the best team in
yeah,
the tournament. Like otherwise, he's been going lower than 3.
yeah.
Like
Excellent.
England just don't have that control
Stopgap.
right
No, not
up
at all.
front,
Nowhere.
and they lose control from the get go, and they can't claw their
Yeah,
back.
yeah. I completely agree. And also speaking as someone who has no control, at the bottom of the list you've got Mark Wood. Mark Wood, who's been given a 3-year deal. I think he's 34, 35, I believe. So that's quite
Wait, has he really?
optimistic. Yeah.
I
Him,
remember you
him,
showing me the list, and I can't.
yeah.
Wait,
Root, Brook, and Wood have 3-year deals. The
that's
rest
wild.
have 2 or 1. Yeah. Um, so Wood's statistics this World Cup have been 6 wickets at 58.1 at an economy of 6.4. Um, he's just been carted all over, all around the shop. Like he got 2 for 70 against Australia or something like that. And I thought he bowled well, but it was just his bowl. It's almost like he was bowling too quick.
Mhm.
It was like it's too quick for him to actually get wickets. Like in a test match, sure, because those edges are going to fly to slip or whatever, or fly slip. But in a 1 day game where you're having to protect all the boundaries everywhere, you can't have 2 slips and a fly slip and a third man because if you bowl it short, it's going to go for 6 on the leg side. It just meant that although this pace is great, it's up at like 95, 96 miles an hour, which is brilliant. There's just as Zampa at the end, he got like 29 off about 10 balls or something ludicrous. But his first ball off wood was a glove which just went above Butler's catch, he gloved it straight to Butler, but just went over because it was too quick. And it's like, it's pace is great, but it just felt like he's not adapted or, you know, realized that not every ball is going to have to be rocketed down.
Mhm.
Um, but you want to encourage him to bowl really quickly, but it's just felt at times that that has not been the skill that's been needed at times. But um, he'll be disappointed. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And I love watching Wood bowl and things like that. But it just on Saturday it just became a bit tiresome when it was like edge, 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 and it's always like four every time to third man or wide point and stuff like that. And you just see him just like getting more and more deflated, and it's just like, well, bit no good.
Like when you're bowling at that pace as well, you don't
Yeah,
need to hit it as hard. It'll just go to the boundary
exactly.
quicker.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's not a lot of nuance in
No,
there.
not at all.
Like going back to Bumrah again against South Africa, there was
Yeah,
one maiden where he bowled. It was like bouncer,
yeah,
quick,
yeah,
Yorker, cutter,
yeah, 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 yeah.
slow
Exactly.
bouncer.
Yeah,
Like
brilliant.
he can bowl probably as quick as Wood can, but Brummer just has so much trick to
Yeah,
pull out.
Boomer's just a complete one of a kind, isn't he? But
Yeah,
he
but
has the
like
skills.
it's
Yeah,
he is a bit of an outlier, but it's not to say like he's the only one doing that. Like
no,
Shaheen
of course
bowls
not.
them incredibly
Yeah,
quickly, but he's got the cutters, he's got the slow balls.
yeah, definitely.
Like I don't think Ngidi is to that level in terms of like the amount of tricks he pulls out,
No,
but
no, I agree.
he's still got that level of nuance and
Yeah,
flexibility in his bowling. Like
for
I
sure.
don't see that with any of the England bowlers that are not injured or named Jofra Archer.
Traveling reserve, Joffer Archer. Yeah, Archer is he's the most like for someone like Boomer, isn't he? And Woods, has to be looked after in cotton wool most of the time. So you wonder how much rhythm he's going to have, for multi formats. Like maybe that pace and just raw pace works well in 2020 because you just focus on those 4 overs, but for 10 overs of just constant, it's just a lot. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I don't think he's going to play 50 over cricket again. Like I imagine he'll be kept up for tests, but when you never know. Um, so those are the stats of the multi-contract deals. So they don't make good reading. Um, so obviously in terms of other stuff, Milan only a 1 year deal, probably likely to retire after the 2020 over World Cup next year. Um, Brook played 4 games. Looked okay. He got a 66 against Afghanistan in that losing game. Looked like the only guy who's going to get any runs. And
He had a game
Atkinson
where
got
I think he got like only 15 or 20, but still was
yeah,
like
looks good.
batting
Looks like
really
he
well.
can
Yeah.
yeah,
And then you
almost like he
throw
should
in
be playing more.
Stokes, who is
Yeah,
not been injured. He is
yeah,
injured, but he just gets in because it's Stokes. But
yeah, yeah. But I think there's a way you get them both in. I think Bairstow probably doesn't really get in the team at the moment, considering how he's playing, but it's already gone. Atkinson got a little 2 for 60 in the South Africa game where they got was it 400? I'm pretty sure it's basically
still like
400.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
swear it was like three different players got hundreds.
yeah, it was ridiculous. So yeah, 2 for 60 in that game, you'd say is pretty good. And then for him to not play again is a bit like I don't really. I mean, I can't
Well,
say I'm a massive Atkinson advocate, um, but he deserves another game after that. Surely, like I love Wood and what Wood brings to the team, but Atkinson's been in much better form, is much better form than Wokes as well at the same stage and things like that. But weird. Um, but the other main talking point has been David Willey. So I think he's had a very good World Cup, to be honest, basically coming in to replace Reece Topley. Um, this World Cup's gone on for so long as I forgot Reece Topley played in it. Um, so David Willey, he's had 4 games. He's got 6 wickets at 30, and I thought he bowled really, really well against India. Um, he got free for in that game. Um, but has been the only one out of this World Cup squad to not be offered any kind of contract. And so has subsequently said he's going to retire from international cricket at the end of the World Cup. Um, and he said, that decision about the central contract helped that decision a lot. Um, I think that is pretty poor when you can offer in the middle of the tournament where you got, a guy like Willie bowling really well and batting pretty well when he's coming as well, to not have anything. But you're giving it to the likes of Liam Livingstone. Um, I think is a bit of a real kick in the teeth, and I think it's been really mishandled in a really poor way.
Just, why would you not wait until after the World
Yeah,
Cup to
yeah,
do the contract? But just
yeah. Uh-huh.
like you can have them
Exactly.
drafted and be like,
Uh-huh.
we're not going to
Yeah.
give Willie a contract, and then
Yeah.
oh, he's doing okay. We can give him a year
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
see how it goes from there. But
exactly. It just reeks to me. Like I think Rob Key said, "Oh, we haven't got an endless pit of money or whatever," but you can afford to give David Willey a 1 year contract. Goodness sake. I
if you're affording Wood a 3-year contract,
yeah. I I can't I really don't understand it if I'm being brutally honest. I just think the way they've handled this has been just plain awful. And he's every game in this tournament where everyone else has been absolute crap. He's come out and given it his all. Like he's not the most, you know, he reminds me a bit of Darren Milan, I guess, but he's not the most enigmatic cricketer. He's not really going to set the world alight, and he's probably going to be best when he's opening the bowling. But in this tournament, he's come back towards the deaf end. He's got wickets at the end. He's got wickets up top. He's made things happen when he's bowled. He's added a few kind of lusty blows to the bat, and I think it's a real discredit to the service that he's given, even though he was a scapegoat for the 2019 World Cup for Archer. And in this one, when he's done well, he's not even been given the rewards of his labour, and I think it just stinks.
I mean,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that he's the future for England cricket, obviously. He wouldn't have played 50 over cricket again for me, but I think he definitely has a role to play in 20 over cricket with a 20 over World Cup next year, where most of these players are going to retire anyway. Then,
I mean, he could have
um,
been like a transition player to
yeah,
take them from this current era of
for sure.
a heaping pile of turd, just to like help bed in some new players and be a bit of experience
Yeah, yeah,
around them. Like maybe like a stand-in captain for a period of time before they
yeah,
decide on a new one, if they were to do that.
yeah. No, I agree, 100%. Um, so yeah, good times. Cool. Right, I'll bring up that captaincy stuff. Unless you've got anything else to discuss about England, I realise it's just mostly just getting it out. Or
Uh, they're bad.
they're bad.
I just want a new, fresh 11, like kind of like the Ireland series, but like serious.
Yeah,
Like two of those games didn't even finish.
that's yeah.
One didn't even start.
This is true. Yeah, one we had basically 1 1/4 games of
Yeah.
the New England team. But this is what we're going to do now, Jamie. We're going to look to the future. And I also asked our beloved followers to look to the future. So the question I posed is that if Butler doesn't stay on as England captain, who replaces him? I just really cannot see a world where Butler stays as captain for the ODI team, at least. I just don't think he has. I mean, he could. I just don't see him having that kind of drive to lead this team anymore.
I
Um,
didn't feel like he was a captain when he was named as captain. It just didn't
no,
strike me as the leadership sort of vibe,
yeah,
team
no, I
lead,
agree.
especially after Owen Morgan has basically molded it
Yeah,
into his image. Like he's been the director of English cricket along with like the actual
yeah,
selectors and stuff, but it's like he's based it around his idea of what he wants to do as the team.
yeah.
I don't know what Butler's ethos or
No,
philosophy for cricket is, other than T20 franchise could smash.
Smashy Smash, which always works in any form of the game.
Mm.
But I mean, a lot of people, I think, don't remember as well that in I think last couple of years of Morgan being captain, in that Morgan didn't play sometimes an awful lot due to injuries and stuff and resting rotation, and that meant that Butler was also a captain quite a lot during the Morgan regime. So it's not even just a case saying Butler's only been captain since last year. He's captaining a lot of the times before then. Um, and when you are a focal vice captain point of that Morgan era, there is no way I don't think that you can really stamp your own authority on this team unless he leads a brand new one, which he just hasn't. And I think, Matthew Mott also falls into this same category of just picking what worked before and hoping for the best rather than him coming in as a fresh coach being like, I want to do this my way. It's just felt like he's coming and being like, well, we'll do this your way, England. Okay, whatever you want to do. I just don't feel any either of them have this cohesive kind of idea of what they want their team to be. So I think both of their positions are very much in the air. I think Mott probably stays, mainly just due to his T20 success. Um, but Butler could stay on as a batter, but I also don't think he would care.
I mean, like
Like,
there's a lot of not egos, but there's like big characters or
yeah,
like, not like legendary status, but like that sort of vibe around like
yeah,
Root, Stowe,
yeah, yeah,
um, Bairstow to an extent.
yeah,
It's hard to put your own stamp on on the team,
yeah, definitely.
particularly as a coach when you've got so many players from a
Yeah,
previous era that have so much influence on that team.
yeah.
Like
I
maybe Mott needed this World Cup.
maybe, yeah, to just
So like we
gives him a
can,
chance to,
yeah,
yeah,
like complete
yeah,
refresh and
yeah,
restart.
and actually give something, like, and actually, if you look at Baz, for example, McCullum, and how much that team is just McCullum, you just know that ethos is him, and that is a team completely his image because England were completely rock bottom after that kind of Ashes and West Indies tour. That Test team has gone through complete regeneration. This one day white ball side have done nothing of the sort, and that's very telling. But we shall see. Um,
Just odd
so
that
I
they can't do that at the same time. Like they can only focus on revamping the test team.
yeah, I mean
Well,
at that time it was also very weird because Morgan was still captain at that point, and I think Morgan didn't really want to give up captaincy, but his form was just not good enough, and so he came in as coach with Morgan captain still, and then had to transition to Butler, who's basically still Morgan. But
but like there's no way you can like be proactive and plan for the future.
no,
That's not a possibility.
no, of course not. I just feel like this was always Morgan's team, and it's still Morgan's team until out of the old, in with the new, and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I think we're going to be both agreed that I don't think Butler's still going to be captain, right?
Yeah, I'm agreed.
Yeah. So before I put it out to what our beloved audience said, do you have an idea of who you would like to see as captain?
Absolutely no idea. Honestly. I don't I don't know what
Yeah.
the actual makeup of the team is going to be
No.
at
Yeah.
all. Like
Yeah.
from the current team, I don't see any captain material.
Yeah.
Um, from the team against Ireland, it was Crawley, wasn't
It
it?
was Crawley. Yeah.
I don't particularly see Crawley as
No.
a flames trailing captain for a
No.
new era. I meme off like Jofra as a captain.
Got to be fit first.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think he'd be a good sort of spearhead for a new like
Yeah.
side, but yeah, he needs to be fit, and I just don't know how he's actually going to be as a captain, even if
Yeah.
I want him to.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
no, I don't know.
Yeah. It's I mean, I think for me, there's it's difficult because you want a captain to come in with like experience and played a
Mm.
lot of cricket, but I don't think they're going to get that. And they're not. I don't think they're going to qualify for the Champions Trophy, which you have to be finishing the top seven this World Cup to qualify for that tournament. So England, I don't think are going to do that. So you've basically got a 4 year bilateral series, set of years for this team to rebuild and find a new identity. So it does let you have a sense of, hey, let's give a new captain a chance and a time for them to have their own team. It's a bit similar to, I think it was maybe George Bailey for the Australia team, who wasn't necessarily had acres of experience in white ball cricket in about 2015, 14, whatever. But he came in and was a very good white ball captain.
Mhm.
So it's whether you look to the county game and look who's an experienced county player and a good leader. So, it could be someone like a Tom Abel, or if uh Billings was in better form, someone like Sam Billings. Um, but Tom Abel's not played international cricket for England yet, and Billings isn't in the current setup. And Billings is probably early 30s, so you're probably not looking for him to build for the future now. So it's probably a bit of a wrong time now for Sam. Um, I think it will be either Crawley or Pope. Those are the two I see. I see a lot of chat about Curran, and that just winds me right up. Like Curran can't even get in England's best side, and I'm saying best side of this World Cup. If he can't get into this team, then how can he then be expected to be the leader of said team for the next 4 years? Very good T20 bowler. Obviously, he had a great T20 World Cup, but 50 over cricket, I think he doesn't have necessarily the skills that are necessary. But he was captain of the white ball or the one of his tournament franchises in the IPL, so I guess there's potential. But I just think
That's
Pope or
still
Crawley.
T20 though, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
some players just don't translate from one to the other.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
agree. Yeah. But I don't think either Pope or Crawley give me that kind of sense of I agree. Um, I think in an ideal universe, if Sam Billings was in good form, I would lean towards Bilbo. Just because he's had experience of this setup. But I don't think he's going to have another game for England again.
I mean, like even when Morgan's form deserted him, he was still
Mhm.
a good captain.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like even if we did like a transition period, like I mentioned before, like maybe just putting Bilbo in as a
mm,
stand-in
yeah,
just for a year or so, so the
yeah,
other players can acclimate to the format and being a team.
yeah, yeah.
And then you
It's
can see from those group of players who is a natural captain among them and who is leading them like with
yeah.
performance and like
Who's a natural leader in the
yeah,
side? Yeah,
with their mentality.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it was Duckett and Crawley who were captain, vice captain for the Island series. So, I would imagine it would be the same, and they would maybe not make a decision on Butler just yet, and then Butler in like February says I want to do IPL instead, and then not bother. So we'll get to that point. Um, let's open it up to our audience who are with us now. Um,
They're always with us in our heart.
um, so we've got a lot, so we'll try and run through them all. If we don't get to yours, we don't get to yours, or I just missed them. First one that's just at the top of my screen is from Charlie Cook, who says Ollie Pope or Zach Crawley. They're the only two that come to mind who could play the next two World Cups and have shown some leadership qualities. But I presume their involvement in the test side would be difficult to capture 50 over side. Um, would we have a new T20 captain as well? So would you just have one white ball captain, or would you think they have to be both?
I mean, I don't see any reason why they have to be the same. Like
Yeah,
the T20 side has just won a World Cup,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
don't
And I
see
think, but he
much
captained well in
reason
the World
to.
Cup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
So
the
I
format
think
as
you can have
well.
two. Yeah, that you can almost look at this side as the developmental side, I suppose. Like T20 cricket, you'd say England have got players for days, and this white ball 50 over team can be. We're not looking for necessarily for progress now. We're looking for progress in 4 years'
Mhm.
time. So yeah, I think they can be different. So yeah, agree. Pope or Crawley are probably up there.
The thing I'd say with Pope is I don't remember him playing
He
an
hasn't played
ODI
50
match.
over cricket. He's
Oh,
not.
so
No. Yeah.
there's a big problem with that. I have thought of a captain, but we'll see
Okay.
if the
We'll see if the
commenters have
masses
said it's
agree.
doing it.
Got Chris Marshall said it can't be anyone from the Test team. I think they would be tempted to use Ali for a couple of years. Sam Curran maybe a left field choice. Ironically, Willie has captaincy experiences, or pick a youngster and accept this as a long term project. So kind of like covering all. Um, Uh, yeah, it's tricky with the test team, isn't it? Because that's a lot of cricket. To really, but a lot of other teams do it. But England do play a lot more cricket than others, so I guess it's tricky. Um, and Addy, I think, only has 1 year contract, so it would be very short interim for Mo. And I don't, and he literally came out today and said it's time to just pick young players. So
I can't imagine Mo being any more than a T20,
yeah,
even like a part-time player in the
yeah.
T20 side now. Like,
Well, he'll retire after that T20 World Cup next year. I'm certain. Um,
I mean, he's already retired twice from the Test team.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. Um, we have Sam from our Wicket Whippets fame. Um, basically, we haven't got any ones here, but basically, out of the current team, absolutely none of them scream leadership to me. So I guess that means going somewhere new, Sam. And then coach, have a summer where McCullum coaches the white ball team as well. Um, if you get rid of Mott, I guess McCullum can be interim. I just don't think McCullum would do both. I think it's too much for him to do both. He likes to chill vibes.
I think it makes sense to have a different coach for
Yeah,
red
I
and white
agree.
ball anyway.
Yeah, and I don't really know where you go for other coaches now. Uh, Next up, let me just see if we've got actually any names in this comment because it's quite long. It's from Madhumata who says it should just be the most random selection. There's no one who is younger than 30 with any reasonable capacity experience in the 50 over format, as far as I know. So, again, just showcasing what we already said. Ali said Butler shouldn't lead the side going forward. I'd go for a young side with James Vince leading it. Thoughts on James Vince, New England captain?
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either, to be honest.
It's
Yeah,
like suitably left field enough for it to be at
yeah,
least a vibe.
yeah, and a player with international experience across formats. Um, Hampshire captain. Um, you know, can build a side. He's probably got a good 3 or 4 years left in him. Can peak for that World Cup in 4 years. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah.
It'd get my kind of Billings pile. So yeah. Um, we got Colin, who says I don't know, which is fair enough. But said that England need to carry out extensive research in determining the most suitable candidate by talking to county coaches and players, interview prospective candidates, and appoint a temporary captain if West Indies is necessary, which I'm sure will be cruelly.
But England don't do that, so they'll just
No,
have a little roulette table, names on it,
yeah,
just
yeah,
whatever it lands on.
well, yeah. uh, at Crick Insane says keep Butler as captain, but get rid of Mott and change the mindset. What do you think?
I think that is insane.
That is Crick Insane.
Yeah. I think the mindset has been set more by the players than Mott at the minute.
I think there's quite an ugly arrogance about this white ball side, and I support England. We'll do through thick and thin, but sometimes the way they talk, away
Mhm.
they strut. Sometimes it feels like they think they should be perceived better than they are, but yeah, I think you got to go out with all the old, really. Matthew Knight said, "Can we ask about the same about Mott?" Absolutely, you can. And said as well that obviously he had great Australia success with the women's team. Said he thought that Meg Lanning was the main driving force behind that Australia women's success, and they carried Mott. Which I is fair. I think I replied saying that you give any kind of half decent coach that Australia women's team, and you probably win a World Cup.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fair point. Um,
Like it's not built on one person either, is it? Like we can talk about changing captain or coach being a massive
yeah, yeah,
change, but like it needs to be done internally
yeah.
as well. Like I've not been particularly impressed by Rob Key at the minute. Like I
Yeah,
don't
at
think
this stage in crisis, it's felt a bit like even last year, when it was the T20 World Cup and they brought in Hales last minute, but they didn't originally pick Hales, but then he was kind of forced into a corner to do so. It's kind of felt very reactionary in a lot of decisions, things like picking Mo for the Ashes or getting Stokes out of retirement. It's
It
a lot
feels
of
like,
quick fixes.
yeah, it feels like Key is leaning on the players to help him out with the selection,
Yeah,
the squad, which like he should be in charge of that.
yeah,
He should
yeah,
be scouting the players who are currently in form and good enough to play for the team. You shouldn't
yeah.
be going to Stoke and being like, any of your mates
Give
fancy
us
a
a go,
game?
please. Yeah, I know. I agree. Yeah, yeah, agree. Right, we've got a few more to quickly go through. Um, Charlie says Tom Abel. So, obviously from Somerset fame, and I think we've also had agreement there from Lottie, who said great call. Um, said that offers far more than Crawley as a true all-rounder and experienced captain. Realizes it's a big move to come straight in as captain, but he's captain Somerset at a very young age and overcame hurdles. But if not Tom, then Ollie Pope. Um, yeah, I don't really disagree too much about Tom Abel. I think he's a very good Somerset captain. But I think it's probably too left field for England to do, rightly or wrongly. Um, the best one I probably would say is from the Twitter account or X account called "What is Zach Crawley doing?" Um, simply replies with "The future is now" with a picture of Zach. So you can't really disagree. Um, great account, great shout out there. Um, so Brian Normal says my mum. I mean, I'm sure that they could do a good
Yeah,
job.
I'm,
And then the final one, we have got Hedden as Withal 3. So that's the handle. Crawley will be front runner. I think we'll have to wait and see how the dust settles. Players like Jax, Curran, Smith, Ahmed, Atkinson, and Brook will be pivotal going towards in forwards and 50 over. He's given us his side, so I'm guessing the West Indies tour, of Jax, Crawley, Root, Brook, Haynes slash Pope, Butler, Jamie Smith, Sam Curran, Ren Ahmed, Gus Atkinson, and Reece Topley, with Phil Stolt in the mix as well. Um, which I'd say is probably roundabout. The question marks probably over Root and Butler. Um, but yeah, I'd say fairly sensible. But yeah, that's our audience's thoughts. I think that's quite rounded.
yeah, no, I like some of the picks. I like Vince and Abel as
Yeah.
potential
County
candidates.
professionals, you know?
Yeah, like after the first comment, like Harry Brook just came to me,
Yeah. I
potential
mean, that's
captain,
that's a good point. I mean, there's very not actually been a lot of chat about that, but that feels like a very England selection. That feels like a kind of
which is probably a damning indictment.
yeah, yeah. You do worry if someone like Harry Brooker, you're giving him he's had such a great breakthrough year. Is it too much too soon? Um,
Yeah.
Again, a bit like Sam Curran, he's not in the worst England white ball side in a number of years in this World Cup. And is there a reason for that? I mean, I think he's probably should be playing, but I don't know. But yeah, I think you're right. I'm surprised no one else has brought it up, to be honest. So yeah, probably I'd say Crawley, Pope, Brook, and then yeah, out of those, I'll probably say Vince.
I
I
like
think
Vince for the immediate now, I think,
yeah,
and then like groom Brook
yeah,
into a future one.
hmm especially if you're not going to have Root in the side. If Root doesn't play 50 over cricket anymore, then I feel like Vince is a good transitional player.
Yeah, sure.
Um, but yeah, that's it. From our lovely followers. I quite enjoyed that, to be fair. So if you also want to engage in all our other content, please do. Nothing riles up England fans like England doing badly. So for our content, please continue. um, but yeah, that's kind of the therapy done, I suppose. I feel much better. Um, did you have to round us off? I think you mentioned it yesterday. Do you have a just not crick? Um, or is there nothing today?
I mean, I haven't particularly thought of anything. Uh, I mean, VAR is a bit shit, isn't it? Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, as much as I understand Mikel Arteta completely exploding, I don't think like okay, the elbow on Jorginho is bad. It should be a red card, and VAR should look at that. But it feels like he's talking about the goal and exploding about the goal. It's like you can't tell if the ball's out of play. I think it is a push, but it's not like a, it's not so egregious that you should be like calling out referees and having the club back you for that. Like the refs should be called out because they're being shit, but that's
Yeah.
not the decision you call them out on. You
No.
call them out on the fucking elbow on one of your players.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like yeah, it's just been shit all season.
It's
Like
spoiling the game, isn't it?
yeah, like other leagues have implemented it well enough. The refs have adapted to it. I think the Eredivisie was the first league, or like it first trialed like having bigger lines for offside,
Yeah.
so it would give a bit more of an advantage to the attacker. Which
Yeah.
prior to VAR being involved, that was always the sentiment around it. Like if you're not
Yeah.
sure as the linesman whether a player is offside, you give the advantage to the
Yeah.
attacker. But
Yeah.
we've been since so many offsides where it's been like a nipple hair or something, or just like a tiny bit of the shirt. It's like
Yeah.
that's not what the offside rule is for. It was brought in to stop goal hanging, but like
Yeah. 100%.
it,
It's just it's using it for most. Do you think that they should implement what rugby do, and I guess cricket to an extent is that you should hear what the officials are saying at some point, so to help
I think
fans
they should.
understand what's actually being done for decisions?
Yeah, I think yes, but I think first they should implement like rugby and cricket do and have competent officiating
Well, yeah,
people. I think there's corruption within every like large organization to some
yeah,
extent. I think there's something going on with the PGMOL, the Referees Association. I
mm,
don't think they like VAR. I don't think they want to like call each other out on bad decisions, and
yeah,
it just leads it leads to say the McTominay goal that was ruled out against Fulham.
hmm,
Maguire is slightly offside, and the VAR are judging that, and then they
yeah,
have to judge whether he's impacting play.
yeah,
They pass the decision on to the on-field referee after, like, the on-field linesmen are told not to put their flags up unless they're certain it's offside. So they are passing the buck to VAR.
yeah,
VAR
yeah,
then passes the buck back to
yeah,
the on-field referee team, and
yeah,
that decision took 4 minutes.
yeah, for
And it's
sure.
just like,
What are we doing with our lives?
yeah, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
agree.
like,
It's messy. It just doesn't. It breaks up all the play, and it's just not that it. Yeah, it just doesn't ever look good whenever it's VAR decision, or VR
yeah,
decision pending. It just looks bad all the time.
yeah.
I don't think there's. Yeah,
I think we should look to cricket a bit more as well. We should have reviews and appeals
yeah,
in here.
yeah,
We should
yeah,
bring in like the LBW umpires call thing as well with
hmm,
offsides or
yeah,
like other decisions to an extent. You can't be as like black and white as you can with offsides in that regard. But like give
yeah,
an error of margin
yeah,
so that if a player is like so far the other way of the referee's decision, like you can reverse that decision in the
yeah,
same way that like
yeah,
the ball has hit the leg outside.
yeah, yeah.
Like
To be fair,
I just want umpires call. I want them to be mic'd up. I want them to be
if
good and not
if
corrupt.
they brought in football DRS, who would you say does the review system? Would it be the manager or the captain?
I would say captain because the manager and the coaches have little screens they can use now, so they can
Okay,
probably like
see what's happened. Yeah.
fix the system.
Hmm.
So I think it makes sense for the captains to be the one.
Yeah. I would love it in football because it would be so funny because they'd always burn their reviews within the first 2 minutes
Oh,
of the
for
game.
sure. Sure. I don't trust Bruno with the reviews. I love him and he gets too much stick, but just he brawled his way through the reviews in the first 5 minutes. And like,
It would be so funny. I would like to see it just for that. Um, I'm gonna do a massive 180 talking about review systems.
all right,
um, there was a what I thought today was going to be the most boring, innocuous cricket match of this World Cup between Bangladesh and Sri Lanka suddenly turned into probably the most interesting match of this World Cup.
I mean, it was
With
so like mundane that we had the same three players in our fantasy
yeah,
team.
yeah. I just could not care less about it. I was like, oh, I'm praised we're gonna pick those. I'll pick them, whatever. Um, so Angelo Matthews, as I'm sure everyone is aware, was timed out today, which is makes him in a very, very small elite club. Um, everyone probably knows the story that he had a malfunction of his helmet, was getting a replacement, and then Shakib appealed to the umpires, um, and they gave him out. What are your thoughts on it, honestly?
But honestly,
Yeah. I
each
think it's funny. I think it looks
it is
crap, but it's
really
funny.
funny. It is really funny. I love the pettiness to appeal it,
Hmm.
but like, come on, a piece of protective gear is
Yeah,
like failed, and you can let him get another
yeah,
helmet.
yeah.
But
It's
like that said, I'm all for the piss that it foil.
like his post match interview was brilliant, just calling everyone a disgrace. You know, like the
Like
officials a
that's how
disgrace,
you call someone
Shakib
a
and a
dis- that's
disgrace.
how you do it. You don't go Mikel Arteta and like show all of your face
Yeah,
boiling off. Like
yeah,
Angelo Matthews is very composed
yeah.
in calling that decision a disgrace because
I just
I
calling them all it. I love it. Like he knows it's towards in his international career, and just be like, oh, Shakib, you're a disgrace. Bangladesh, you're a disgrace. Officials, you're a disgrace. Like it's great. But I
and
think he's
like
right.
yeah, he is right.
I don't understand why the officials have to be so to the law. Like
I don't
he
understand
needs
why
to
the
change his
laws
helmet.
are different between
Oh,
MCC and ICC. Like
this cricket is mental, isn't it?
it's so stupid.
But it does it on a serious note. It does set a very dangerous precedent to be like, well, you should just face that one ball then without your helmet.
Yeah,
Like that's what you're talking about. His helmet's broken. What do you expect him to do? So I think that is very bad, and I think the umpires then coming out afterwards to try and justify it to be like, oh no, it before he said he had issues with his helmet, it was already the 2 minutes. It was like, well, it's not. It's so petty. It's so even if it was over 2 minutes, it's not going to be by like five, is it? So that was a wild thing that happened today, and I couldn't quite believe it. So maybe this World Cup is just getting started. Oh, blimey. But yeah, I don't have much else. We'll do a bigger kind of World Cup preview for the semis, which is obviously probably going to be India, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, unless Pakistan pull off a miracle. Or Afghanistan.
Yeah, I want to do a
If
proper not cricket as well, but I
Yeah,
just
you
have
have one
no
already. Yeah,
ideas.
yeah, that's fine.
So I need you and the listeners to help me.
Yeah, I'll have a little look. Um,
Like
but
just
yeah,
anything. Like that time we did the Mr. and Mrs. quiz, just something
yeah, that was nice. That was cute.
batshit random,
Yeah.
like reinventing Quidditch again. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll find something. We'll find something. Because obviously England will be long past the talking point by then. And yeah, there's only so many superlatives you can give someone like Virat. Um,
I
but yeah,
think when we do our roundup and we're doing each teams individually, when we get to
yeah,
England, we do the
yeah,
not cricket and just like
yeah. Just forget who.
do like would
We're
you
now
rather
not
from
talking about
Reddit.
England
And
anymore. England
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
done. There's no more England chat for this World Cup. They gave up 2 weeks ago, so we give up now.
They mean we mean.
Yeah, memes be happening. So yeah, that kind of it's a little bit short today. Just if you also needed this therapy session, you're welcome. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back, yeah, with the semi-final preview, I guess. Um, where can people follow us?
Just not CritPod, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, podcast places.
They be the places. So yeah, we'll see you next time for no more England chat. Bye bye. Sorry,
Uh,
World Cup.
oh, lol.
Lol. Extra lol. Oh dear me.